Music Record Label Association that will be able to cater for all just new Nigerian music record labels. They can now work with additional other recording artists organizations that they have been, because the one that is on the ground is not working totally with the new Nigerian music record label. It's not. If they are, I don't know. They need to talk to people like us with due respect, so that we know that we are working together. You said something earlier. I would like to bother on that, on what you said. An artist living in a record company that has an issue with the record company and being invited by another record company. It happened to me. I won't mention any artist. It happened to me. I said, okay, you want to go to another artist. There's another company that is interested in accepting you. No problem. But the videos I've done for you, we have not made enough money from the sales. We have not made enough money from the YouTube. So the record company, you are going to tell them that for me to allow you to go to them, they have to pay me all the money I spent on you with some markup. With some markup. And again, we cannot discuss about the publishing rights and again, other rights on the music that I have. If you pay a whole money with enough markup, I can release the whole work to you. You can take it to the next record label. But if they want to pay part-time or they want to pay some percentage, they cannot own the work. They can get some percentage of the work. He went to them. They did not bring the money. I gave them a bill. They didn't come back with the bill. They didn't come back with check. So the person now waited until this contract now ran out. We cannot stop anybody from moving. It's a life. Just like advertising company. MTN can decide to be with a particular agency today. Next year, they can change. Upper year, they can change. And in this, our advertising industry, I've seen products move every year. Every year. And I see those products as musicians. Again, before moving, they will have set to advertising agency A thoroughly before they move to advertising agency B, and they will have paid their media houses the whole money they are owing, so that they won't say that, the one you were with last time was owing money, so that the one you are now with will not have backlog or problem with radio or TV stations. It can be done. Again, we need to come together as one force. You mentioned something, COSON. If you know the amount of money that the government has frozen, it's over R1 billion. Did you hear me? Yeah. Industry have over R1 billion in accounts. I was told that by P-Man president. Pretty. If I say P-Man president, some other people will say, who give an P-Man president? That is not the P-Man president. They will mention another person's name. That's why I said there's no unity in the music industry. We need to come together, one force, one unified organization, and work for all. Not somebody getting a lot of people together and again sitting on top of over R1 billion or R2 billion and sharing peanuts. Peanuts. I say that with deep sense of respect. Dashing peanuts to superstar like Whiskey, superstar like Two-Face, and again, you don't want them to talk. It's not done. And again, we say there's no structure. There's structure in publishing. There's structure in people paying COSON for them to pay to the artists. Artists are not happy. That again goes back to management of structure that is created by government to help musicians. But musicians, they need to help themselves.
Sir, I want you to wait with us. I want to bring on Audu Mekori, right? Okay. Because Obi Asika is also waiting. I want to bring in Audu Mekori to put in a few points where we currently are. And if there are any artists in the building, I want to bring these artists to come and I have Neola. I have Neola as well. So because we would like to have an artist, right, also come in and discuss a few things. Also, Audu Mekori needs to come in because there are a few things that we need to we need to align properly so that everybody understands. Because some people are feeling like this is about just the artist, where the labels are against the artist. No, that's not this conversation.
No. We want something better.
Two artists, we had two artists last week that came on the show. They were talking about from the artist point, and they were talking about from the record label point. You understand? And right. He made the conversation very, very balanced. So I'll bring you back. Let me get on. Neola, are you ready? briefly before I bring on Audu. So I'll bring you back, sir.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready? Okay, let me unmute you. Can you come on Instagram Live?
Okay.
Yeah, come on Instagram Live.
Where is it?
Casey, please, we are going to have to bring you up at some point here. So please stay on. I'm looking for artists that are online for us to invite them on this conversation. Okay. Are you here? Neola, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please, can you
yeah, I can hear you.
Can you put a comment?
Here. Yes.
All right.
I see your request now. Great.
Hi, Neola. How are you? Can you hear me? I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Neola, please kindly fix your phone. I'll bring you back. I don't know if you. So while we wait for Neola to fix her phone, let me have Casey. Please, Audu, kindly. Okay, Neola is back. Audu, please kindly get ready because you need to fix a few things here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so you watched our conversation. You listened to our conversation the last time.
Yes.
And you've heard what Obi Asika has said. You've heard what Audu has said. You heard what Rude Boy and Casey added to the conversation the last time. You're an artist, right? You don't own a record label right now. You've been signed to a record label. What do you think is what do you think from an artist's point of view, what do you have to say with everything that has been said on this call?
A whole lot, to be honest. I think that everybody has made important and cogent points. First of all, I think that the most important thing that we have to understand is Nigeria is a very unique market. And if we had to compare how things are done outside of Nigeria here with this place, a lot of it, then it's already messed up from the get-go. Now, with every society, when a business model is created, it's created with the market in mind. Now, we can't necessarily say that our industry here has a system, and it's a systemic problem because it comes from the top. Like you were asking the other time, if maybe part of the problem was the legal arm. When you don't have a body that regulates the industry, you don't really have a body that would check if anybody did wrong. Maybe the artist or the producer or even a label. You don't really have it. Sometimes there's certain injustices that would be done or would be perceived. And you'd feel like, and some artists would feel like there's nothing they can do. And then the resentment starts, and then they start to feel like, okay, I feel like this, and why are you not doing anything about it? And then they feel like the only avenue they have to get even is to go to the journalists. And now sometimes the journalists are already chatting whatever they're chatting. And so now it's like a case of you already wanting to explode, and then you find an avenue. Now, I'm not saying that this is right, but I feel like a lot of times, because of the way things are, things are in Nigeria, and I can speak from my experience and also like from things that I've seen. Sometimes labels want to use a particular model that has worked for artist A and use it for artist B. Because I feel like a lot of people come into the music business not even understanding the premise of the industry in the first place. And now you have some artists who all they know how to do is just sing. They may not necessarily be songwriters. So if you come and say you signed this guy because you saw that this guy could sing, and then when you find that he could sing and the artist is trying to tell you that, okay, so this is what I need to do to develop myself as an artist. You don't leave the artist and say that it's your job for you to figure out everything. You may not have business acumen as an artist to build yourself to the point. That's why you have your record label. So your record label signs a 360 deal with you and then leaves you to figure everything else out. So when you go out there and by whatever means, whatever you have to do, figure something out, and then you come back, and the label is acting like, we made you, we did this for you. Maybe they did because, you know, they still put their money down and gave you the platform. But I'm just saying for you to understand why some people would think that you haven't done anything for me and I cannot accrue the success that I have to you. You understand what I'm saying? I had a 3-hour long conversation with someone today, and it was very intense. And I said, sometimes people don't want to see you beyond an artist. For instance, if you are an artist who has a brain, for instance, that functions, and people refuse to see you as an artist because just sing and shut up. If I'm an artist and I had a vision and I wanted to become something, and you saw that I wanted to become something, I came to you with my vision, or you came to me and I shared my vision with you and you said you were going to help me to get my vision to a place. And now you say that your vision is, my vision is aligned with yours, or you can help me get where I need to go. Now, as we go along, how come I don't get to have a say in this vision that is mine? Because if I waste 5-6 years of my life, at the end of the day, it's my life that has been wasted. You will go on. You count your losses. You lost money. It's my life. To you, it's just business. But to me, it's my life. And I'm saying it from an artist's point of view. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's how we feel. So I feel like artists need to find a way to understand. Labels need to find a way to understand where they're. Some labels would even sign an artist and they wouldn't know exactly why they signed the artist or what to do with the artist. And at the end of the day, they'll be like, okay, well, we invested in you. You didn't bring us money. What are we supposed to do? But did you put the resources in place to help me make the money that you needed to make? Do you understand what I'm saying? If I say that, okay, what is my strongest suit, for instance? My strongest suit is singing. But because I'm pretty and I'm good looking, you want to sell me as a good looking artist. Yeah, you should be able to do that. But it shouldn't be what you bring to the fore, because maybe singing is going to sell me more than my face, so that my face would be just a part of what you're using to sell me. But some labels will not listen to that because they feel like, what do you know? We're the business people. And then when it fails, it's your fault.
Okay, so
and then there's all that problem of you holding a lot of things back. Yeah.
This is a very, very key point you just made, right? And this is very, very, very important. Now, don't you think that as an artist, right? And it's good that you're actually saying this. This is a very, very, very brilliant conversation we're having, and I like that you said this. Do you think that as an artist, when you are reading your contract, you should also tell your label that, you see, this contract we're signing, I want to also have an input in terms of the kind of things that you do for me as a brand. You don't think that? Yeah, you don't think that should be?
To be honest, like I said when we started, right? We don't have a system, a legal system in Nigeria that there are a lot of things that you would like artists or labels would do and get away with, because by the time you think about the headache of even going to sue or going through the right. And this is what I've heard people say. You'd be like, well, I would have lost time. I don't even want to go through that. Let me just leave it. You know what I mean? Which is why you say sometimes labels will pally up with artists and they'll be like brothers, and then they now then the artists start to take advantage of it. Most of the time it's because there's certain things that need to be done. In Nigeria, I feel like, wait, let me answer.
Yeah, continue. Yeah.
Even if it's stipulated and stated clearly in the contract that you should have an input, I'm telling you that a lot of record labels go around treating artists like they're doing the artist a favor, and that's the first. I feel like that's where the first problem comes from. So it is a partnership, like you were saying to Baba Keke the other time. It's a partnership. Yeah. You're not doing me a favor, and I'm not doing you a favor. You have something I need, and I have something that you need, and we're coming together to create something. And that's what I realized, that first of all, most labels come with the mentality of like, I'm doing you a favor. But my talent is not something that you can even put money to or that you can buy. It's talent, it's intellectual property, you know. So if it's managed properly, there's no knowing what it could do, how much it could bring, you know. So it's an investment. It's just like if you're investing in a poultry. It could go well, it could go wrong. It's an investment. But when it comes to music or when it comes to artistry, people want to act like they're doing you a favor. And it's not nice, because at the end of the day, artists are creative people, and most of the time sensitive or emotional. Whether it's a good thing, whether it's not a bad thing, but this is probably what makes artists. And the people signing they're not able to understand that side. And this is probably where the lawyers should come in. Every artist should have a representative. And that brings me to another point. How many artists in Nigeria actually have managers who understand the job or the roles of a manager?
Okay, Neola, let me get in there, right? What you just said right now is very important. Don't forget this. A lot of artists always want to appoint managers for themselves. Do you know that?
As they should.
Yeah. Now, when you're appointing somebody for yourself that you know fully well that has no knowledge of what the industry is, do you understand? That is one thing.
Right.
Okay. And the second thing is, some artists don't think that they should take a manager from the label, believing that if I take a manager from the label, he'll be watching my everyday move and he'll be telling the label what I am doing or what I am saying, right?
I don't think it has a lot to do with that. When I've had a manager before who worked for the label, but in that case, there's a conflict of interest, because when I need you to speak for me, sometimes it would be against what the label wants. Whose side are you going to be on? And that was a major problem. Like, there were times where there were things that I needed her to fight for, but she couldn't really fight. She understood, but she couldn't really fight because she's on their payroll. So it doesn't make sense. And then when I say, okay, you guys gave me a manager and you stipulated that I have a manager with you guys, it's a 360 deal. And then so when it comes to some things, you'd be like, oh, you need to have a personal manager. I'm like, fine. Because at the end of the day, 20% of something is better than 100% of everything. And then I get a personal manager. And it still didn't make much of a difference, because at the end of the day, it's all about your label understanding the things that you signed. And nobody really goes by what they really signed in Nigeria.
Okay, so
and that's
you're
the
saying
problem
that
is.
You're saying that the labels don't go by what they sign on the contract with a lot of artists. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because there's usually no plan. How many people, I know that there's some labels who do that in Nigeria, but there are far and few in between. But how many labels actually start at the beginning of a calendar year and say that this year, this is what we're going to do? You're going to have X amounts of songs. You're you know, what's the rollout plan? and then you want to compare with the people in the States, or you want to compare with the UK, or the people who actually have a system, who actually have a structure and a strategy. Because when you have a strategy, at least you would have thought about and calculated a possibility of it not working out how you project. And then that way you can make room for a situation where that occurs. But here, there's no such thing. It's like, let's just do it like this, because that label, like you were saying, did it like that. Look at that artist is blowing. We have to make you blow like that artist. But you don't understand that there's a key component of that artist that is making that artist blow. And they need to find the unique thing about you too that will make you blow. But they're gonna want to use the same format for that artist, and it's not the same.
But Neola, do you see
different artists from Adekunle Gold? Adekunle Gold is a different artist from Wizkid, and you can love all three of them the same.
All right. Do you also know that there are some artists that look at how other artists are big, and they use that on their label, saying that that artist is big and I am not big? And also, don't forget that there are artists that you know, our industry, the structure is part of the reason why we're having this conversation, because we need to know where, because you just said something that a lot of labels don't listen to the artists when the artist brings their own suggestions in terms of how they can promote and do things, right? A lot of labels don't listen, which is true. I'll tell you something. That is true. There are times where we need to start having, as labels, we also need to start having the positions where a lot of labels need to start having positions where you sit down, you listen to the creative side. Okay, let me tell you for someone like Tekno, right? When Tekno comes, what Tekno does is he says, Baba, I don't record this song, bro. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I'll listen to the song, right? There are times where something happens. I say, you know what? Like this song, maybe no. I can't remember what song was. I was at Quilox when he sent me the song and said he wanted to drop the song.
Yeah.
And I said, the song he gave the song, he gave the song Palanga, and I said, I don't think Palanga was the right name for the song. And he asked me what I thought, right? And I gave it a name, right? I think, is it Duro? Yeah, Duro. Yeah. And he said, oh, he wanted the song. When he sent the song to me, I said, what's the song title? He said, Palanga. I said, Palanga, I don't think Palanga is the right title for the song. So the right name for the song, I gave it Duro. And then I did up a flyer. I shared it with him. He said, okay, the flyer was nice. And we put out the song. And that night, the next day, the song became big. So the thing is I understand where you're coming from. And I'll tell you that it's also important with how things are changing for record labels to sit down with artists and have conversations with them and be part of what the artist wants as an artist. How we can actually sit down and say, okay, you know what? Okay, Neola, we want to drop a song for you. Do you have the songs ready? You sit down, we look at the songs. I don't think this song fly. But you see the thing, I was having a conversation with MI on Instagram Live yesterday, and he said there are some songs that he never believed in, right? Yeah. But they became big songs. That's why conversations need to be had between an artist and the record label. So once you have that proper conversation and you go back and forth, there are times where you see, that, you know, and also don't forget that as an artist, you always never be right. As a record label as well, you always never be right. So that's why there needs to be that synergy where conversations are had. So I don't think there should be any label that will just wake up and just say, hey, this is what you must do, and you must do it. Do you understand?
I hear that, and that's also, and that's why it's also important. Like it's a whole lot of things, you know. Like I spoke about management. There's also the big issue of an artist being overwhelmed in Nigeria with everything. You're your own A&R, and a label exec should not be the one A&Ring a project, because you probably don't know the first thing about music or what is obtainable. But imagine you being an artist, you knowing your craft and your art, and there's somebody coming to tell you that, okay, let me use this as an example. But let me use this as a good example. And I don't mean this, you know, with any form of, there's no animosity whatsoever. When Oscar produced Tobad, when we did Tobad, it was a very unusual song, you know, and it was Banky who hired Oscar. Like, he's a great producer. He's also a writer. You know, he's da 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 da. He's worked in the States, da da da. Anyway, we created Tobad, and we had a whole, you know, bunch of other songs. And I knew in my heart that I wanted Tobad to be the single. But at the time, EME used to release two, if you remember, two songs. We did EME Wednesdays. So there was Tobad and there was Crazy that Mastercraft did. And Banky didn't like Tobad for the life of me. He didn't like it. I loved Crazy, but I knew Tobad was different. And I knew that it was something that people would be able to relate to. And it was like, oh, Tobad has been used so many times. Tobad. I was like, but never in this context. You know, everybody says I love you, but on different songs, it's used in different ways. And I remember Banky said in these words, verbatim, he said, it's a good song. It's not a great song. And it really, really hurt me because obviously as an artist, every song is like your child, you know. It hurt me, but Shegu loved the song, Sunday loved the song, and we went months and months and months, and I was just waiting, recording and recording, looking for the song. And then one day Banky was just like, you know what? I like Tobad now. I remember vividly. I was in India. I had gone for a surgery, and I was in India for about 2 months. I was preparing to come back home, and then he hit me up and said, "I like Tobad now." I was like, "Oh my God!" So I came back. We released Tobad. Like 5 months after Tobad was released, people didn't really know it. We did the radio rounds, my manager and I, and then we did the video for Tobad. And it changed everything. I remember even the end parts, we argued a little bit about it. It was like, why does she have to go back? But Kemi was like, no. That is the most important part of the video. And guess what? When that video came out, it changed everything around. So sometimes you need to have the people in place, the right people in place to know what to say. For instance, the A&R person, you have the person who sometimes an artist is not necessarily a great songwriter. As the label, it should be your place to have these things. But in Nigeria, you're saddled with the responsibility of figuring out all these things by yourself. And for God's sake, all you probably know how to do is only to sing. And you're supposed to grow as you go. And when you found our artist, you knew that this artist was just trying to help themselves. Like, I'm just trying to figure out what it is. I know I have a talent. What happened to artist development? Is it not the job of the label to develop this artist? And all of a sudden, you just want this money. How do you make this money if the artist doesn't grow? Wizkid is not the same person who sang "You're My Giddy Girl." He's not. He's grown. You know, and we can say this for, and I keep using the same people because that's what's at the back of my mind. Adekunle Gold is not, you know, like, he's grown in his artistry and everything. You know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, artists have a role to play, but most importantly, it's just like when you say father and child. Oh, this child this child misbehaves. You as a parent, you also have a role that you have to play in teaching the child, and then the child will imbibe all these things that you've taught the child. So I feel like the label has a lot of work to do.
Niola, I really like how you. I really like from the angle you've come in with the record labels, right? But I wanted to correct something you just said, right? You see, in terms of artists dropping songs, do you know there are times where an artist will drop a song that they don't. Okay, let me tell you this. Iyanya never believed in Kukere. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I know that.
Do you understand? He never believed in Kukere. Do you understand? And the songs that Iyanya believed in, I didn't believe in them. Do you understand?
Because an artist will always be biased. We will always be biased.
Wizkid, when after Wizkid recorded "Sexy Mama" in the studio, when Wizkid left, Wizkid called and said he didn't like the song. That maybe they should do a different song. Do you understand what I'm saying? But you see, that is how it is. That's why it's him. And I told him, I said, listen, I think I like this "Sexy Mama." Let's convince Wizkid for us to drop the song because the album was ready. it's the same thing like Mr. Oreo, right? At the time we dropped Mr. Oreo, we felt like we dropped Mr. Oreo too early. You understand? But I told him, I said, let this Mr. Oreo come on the Made Men Music album. And there are songs that have become big that I didn't believe in. And I'll say, no, let's put it. Like, baby, this your booty, I confirm. I said, that song, Le Kwaku. You see, Le Kwaku is one song that I said, man, this song, it's kind of slow, the tempo. But I said, no, Ubi, I think I believe in this song. Let's push it. And we shot a good video for it. So you need to understand that, like I was just said, music is a conversation of both parties.
Yeah, like
you understand? And it would be very unfair for a record label not to listen to the artist and for the artist not to listen to the record label. Because if there are proper conversations between the both parties, the marriage will be perfect. You understand?
Exactly. So they're both gunning for the same thing.
Yeah, so that's right. Okay, Neola, I need to bring on somebody else because we're going to continue having this conversation until we get the right thing for our industry. Please just stay on. I'll do, please, you need to come before I bring on Casey. I don't know who else is on the line. Let me see. I'm going to, this is for you. I'm not going to say a word anymore. You've allowed me to go through, you see, Keke, Kenny's was, bro, listen, I can't stop laughing.
That's the final boss now. You know, when Keke talks,
you know, he was giving us as hot as possible. So you've listened to Obi Asika speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, every time I listen to Obi speak, I always feel like we don't appreciate what we have in Obi Asika in the Nigerian entertainment industry. You know, the guy, he knows a lot. Every time I listen to, so let me tell you this, right? Mm-hmm. I know Kenny is watching. There's a day Kenny wanted to see me, and see Anyaya, and I said, "Sir, where are you? We'll come and meet." He said, "No, I'm coming to your house." Do you know that day I called my mom? I said, "Mommy, can you imagine the man that is the man I look up to every day? He says he's coming to my house." You know how you tell someone, "Baba, I'll come meet you." He said, "No, I'm coming to your house." You see, for me, that day was like, wow, so you've actually worked this hard for somebody that is at the level of Kenny to come to your house. You know, he came to the house, we sat down, we played music, and I was happy. So having to have these people speak at very, very important conversations like this is very, very important. How do you listen to Kenny speak? You've listened to Neola speak. You've listened to Obi Asika. I want you to, put everything in perspective before we bring on Casey. Because I'm sure Casey has something to say also from an artist's point. Because he's seen an artist come, he's seen a label coming.
Yeah. I mean, I think this panel is, just brilliant people. First of all, Obi Asika is a frigging legend, right? He's vast in all sorts of levels. Because if you think about it, remember he's a lawyer. Many people forget that he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Obi also was a DJ at a point in time. And I recall one time when they're about to launch Nizo C's album, and I met up with him, I think in 2008 or 9, in his house in Ikoyi. There's this house he had in Ikoyi before he moved, I think. And he was playing me some stuff from D'banj and from John Jazzy and stuff. And then I was seeing his DJ set, and I used to be a DJ. So it makes sense. Lawyer, DJ, right? And then he has done TV, he has done content. So when he talks from a really global perspective, right? And the key thing that Obi said, which is really important, is the need for us to look at this as a business and look at the resources that we have locally that can change our business. And I think for me, the highlight is around the ABBA model. Think about it. Ubi, you talked to Ogwa, right? Ogwa
yes.
Online, right? I don't know if she shared with you, but when I had a talk with her, she blew my mind. She was talking about how in ABBA there's a shop that can do 3,000 pieces of clothing a day in ABBA. It's a chop shop. Now imagine that same level of technology being deployed to do merchandise. So we're talking about the ancillary things you need to do in the music business to create money. Second issue that came up was around artists blowing and becoming too big for the label. The reason why they're too big for the label is that the label isn't making enough money from what they're selling. Their principal job is to sell music. They're not selling enough. Now, even for the best labels here, the truth is that your sales are coming from the UK and the US. So in fact, you're not addressing the local market. So we're doing the same thing we do with crude oil, which I spoke about before. You find the raw talent here, you refine crude oil, you take crude oil from here, you refine outside, then you import it back to Nigeria and you sell to us at an expensive cost. So think about it this way. If you have an Apple subscription, you're paying $10 a month. That's 4,000 Naira a month, right? Meanwhile, you could have a local version that's 400 Naira a month and you have many more subscribers. So it's a volume game. So we have not used our local resources. Now, when Kenny spoke, I mean, we know how Kenny is a man I revere so much. Not because of, not forget the fact that they're the pioneers. Anybody can be a pioneer. But it's the fact that, like you said, the humility, the wisdom, right? And the genuine concern for people. I think very few people have it. And you can hear, I mean, this guy has 80 albums. I've said this many times before. And he confirmed it today. I said, with all due respect to all the labels, no label has done what Kenny's music has done. None. That's the truth about it. When you think about the artists that they brought in, the numbers, the risk that they took, it's amazing. And what did he say? He said, at the end of the day, it's the function of us being very professional with how we do our business. So I'll say that for on that side, we need to have better lawyers. Some guy walks up to me and says, oh, he got a lawyer. And the lawyer has never seen a recording contract in his life. He assumes it's the same thing as a building contract, you know, as a supply contract. Yes. So please don't go to a dentist for an eye problem, right? That's foolishness. There are people that specialize in stuff. There are entertainment lawyers, there are organizations of entertainment lawyers. And one of them, I'm not very cheap, but I can become cheap because Ubi is my guy. So I can give you a discount because of Ubi. But there are a bunch of us, there are a bunch of us that can actually do stuff for you. So you need that. Now, going back to what Neola said, Neola came from the artist perspective. And I think that's very, very important because for a while, it seemed like record labels bashing artists. But I'm glad that when Casey comes, Casey is going to give us two sides. Casey has been an artist, and he's a pioneer artist, by the way. And he has been able to, you know, keep on reinventing himself and has created a really amazing, you know, not just the music, but even in terms of label. Now with Neola's complaint is this. One, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So you cannot sell Kokere. You cannot sell Kokere Ubi the same way you're going to sell GT the guitar boy. Remember GT the guitar guy? Yeah. He's a different artist altogether. You can't ask him, or you cannot do that with Femi Kuti or Seun Kuti. It's different. So you need to understand that. And therefore, there's a need to create the A&Ring department of a label. Now, for the artist, the biggest issue here is that I think it's a joint project. And I'll give you a simple example. When I started working with MI, and MI put out Safe, I remember the day he brought Safe to my office, it was 5 minutes, 21 seconds. I'm like, man, guy, you cannot release a song that's 5 minutes, 21 seconds. It's too long. And the radios will not play it. And how are you even going to do the videos, you know? So we sat down in the office. I remember that day very well. Like, look, this song's going to be crazy. Trust me. I said, I hear it. It's not the typical commercial thing. I love the freestyle flow, but I don't know. But I thought about it. Like, you know what? Take a chance. Because sometimes it has to be, it doesn't always have to be what I agree with. And that's something that labels and A&Rs must know. And you must have an ear for music. And Safe did what it did. Another great example with Brimo, we had two singles ready. We had Ara and we had Good Morning. Production-wise, for me, I like Good Morning. I thought Good Morning should come out first, and I thought Ara should follow up because Ara was faster. The whole team liked Ara, and they overruled me. So I said, no problem, you guys go ahead and put Ara. And it was the right call. But there have also been singles that they've released. I told the artist, this thing no go work. And it failed. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's a conversation. But what is key, however, is this. Artists, if you're not happy with your relationship, leave. But leave properly. Follow the process and leave. That's, for me, that's my personal view. That you have the right to leave, but just leave formally. Because you see, when you leave properly and the documents are signed, it's not hard for me to go to a bank to give me money to do the next artist, right? True story. In 2013, I was in the middle of a multi-million-dollar investment in my company. And then I had the crisis with Brimo, right? Then I had, and because of that, I had some issues. I think, and with Jesse contract had expired, but there's some things that were going on internally there. And the investor said, well, the way artists keep leaving labels, how do we know that this investment will be secured?
Very important.
So it was a multi-million-dollar investment, no bullshit. And it was a very difficult time for me because I had to manage. And then, Kenny said something about how the press reacts. It's wrong. Recently, the press came out, oh, Emma has left Chocolate City. Emma is the director of the damn company, has shares in the company. He's not leaving anywhere. He's doing something different from Choc Boys. But the sensational news that he has left Chocolate City. But that's why labels also have to court publicity. The problem for most labels that we're saying, I bet we don't want to be talking too much. You guys just